Good afternoon, everybody. Congratulations to all our Hall of Fame recipients or inductees today and all our award winners. The Ratta Mitchell Memorial Media Award, the 2025 award winner is Phil Smith. A little bio on Phil before we ask him to the stage. Phil has been an enthusiastic follower of auto racing for over 7 decades. He first became interested in racing at the Kingston Fairgrounds in Rhode Island. In 1969, he authored an article about his favorite driver, Fred DeZaro, for a contest hosted by the Cavalcade of Auto Racing. This column awarded him an all-expense-paid trip to Langhorne Speedway. When Fred pursued the National Modified Championship in 1970, Phil accompanied the family on many occasions. At this time, Phil began contributing a weekly column to the New York-based Gator Racing News. In 1971, he transitioned to the newly founded Speedway scene, maintaining a column that appeared on page 2 for over 25 years. He has most recently been on the staff of the Area Auto Racing News, writing the Looking Back column. This column, published weekly during the racing season, provides insight into the events of auto racing in 5-year increments, reaching back 45 to 50 years of history. His objective is to preserve the legacy of competitors from previous generations. Additionally, he has authored 2 books, The 50 Greatest Drivers at Stafford, as well as The Asphalt Modified Years at Stafford Motor Speedway, By the Grace of God in 600 Horsepower. This is a week-by-week chronicle from 1967 to 1985. Covering and writing about auto racing has provided Phil the privilege of meeting many outstanding individuals within the sport, and in turn, he has given back so much to all of us with his great work. The 2025 Ratta Mitchell Memorial Media Award recipient, Phil Smith.
Yeah, Phil Smith. We've read so much of what you've written for all those years, as we heard in your biography, and you got to talk to a lot of great race drivers over the years. We know how close you were to Fred DeZaro, and I'm sure interviewed him many times. Who were some of your other favorites that you wanted to interview and write about?
Well, one of my favorites was Eddie Flemke, and I was really amazed as to how he really operated on a weekly basis. When Eddie wasn't driving in a race or practicing, he'd come to the fence. This is when I was working at Stafford. I could see him. He'd come to the fence, and he'd just stand there, and he'd watch, and he'd watch, and he'd watch. And if somebody was going to wreck, he knew it before it happened. And, I mean, that's why he was so successful the way he was, because he could read these people. He was one of the great thinkers of our sport. And I think one of his greatest callings was when Dick Williams hired him to be the chief steward at Waterford. And he could answer any question you think of. And one of the first things he ever said was, when he stood up, and how true it was, he talked to everybody and he said, and I quote, "Don't bullshit a bullshitter." And he was so right. And I mean, he just knew. That's how smart this guy was. But there was a lot of good guys, and it's so hard to mention them all, but I really enjoyed most of it, and I have no regrets at all.
Well, you've had a real chronicle of racing, particularly back to the 60s and 70s, right up into the 80s, that you've written about time and time again. You've lived all the way through it. Compare then to now, and you're still very active, watching just about every race. I think we were talking earlier, you said you watch every race from Stafford. You don't necessarily go to the track, but you get to watch it from home. So your comparison between then and now.
I think now it's a lot more streamlined. The people who run Stafford, their roots are really top shelf in what they do up there, and they've got so many programs to help the competitor. And even at Waterford is starting to come alive again, little by little, and so is Thompson. But one of the greatest things I think that happened to the local racing in New England, it was the advent of flow racing. This affords everybody the opportunity at a reasonable price to watch what we all love. And in fact, like even to myself, I mean, I'm getting a little older now. My legs are bothering me, my knees are bothering me, plus I got COPD, and I can't move around the way I was before. But now I can sit there in my recliner. I watch all the races at Stafford, all the tour races, all the races at Riverhead. I mean, you name it. And then when it's all said and done, I get up on my chair, walk across the hall, and I jump in bed, and boom, I'm gone.
Saves the driving, that's for sure. And you know, we've read your writing, your columns for years and years and years, but some people may not know that you were a racetrack official as well.
Yeah, I worked when Jackaroo was alive. He, along with Jackie, hired me to be the Sunday night handicapper. That's when they decided they were going to run against Thompson on Sunday nights. So I went to work for him there, and then I ended up being a regular Saturday night handicapper. Plus, I worked at Waterford besides, and it did give me the opportunity to meet just about every driver that raced at those tracks. And it was just in general conversation. You could learn so much just from talking to these guys. It was really a good experience. And I just wish it was still the same it was, but you know, everything changes all the time. But one thing I'd like to mention too is I would like to thank Pete Zanardi, who in the early days of me writing was my mentor, and he steered me right in more than one occasion. In fact, one of the best things that ever happened was that him and I spent a week up in Rome, New York, with Richie Evans. And this is back when Richie was in his wild days. And I'll tell you, I'll never forget that. I mean, it's amazing what that guy did and how he did it. But no, once again, thank you to Pete, and also to Jack and Jackie Arute. Jack Arute, I could always depend, when he was alive, getting a phone call from him on a Monday morning. And he was one of the greatest critics there was. And it was constructive criticism, not lambasting, so to speak. And I learned a lot from him, just listening to him talk. And I miss him. But hopefully, you know, things go on, and everybody will have a good year this coming year, next year, and we'll have another good year to talk about. But I'd like bringing back, I keep talking about, I got most of this stuff on a flash drive, so everybody asks me, how do you remember all this stuff? There's no way you can remember it. But Microsoft Word and a flash drive works wonders.
Well, we don't want to keep you from taking off to Florida. We know you were within days of that, so everybody that goes to Florida can go visit Phil, right?
Oh, yeah. Right on the way to Marco Island.
Yeah, Holden Court. Well, congratulations. We've enjoyed everything that you've written over all these years and all the accomplishments and what you've brought to the sport, and congratulations on your award today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.